At a depth of 36,070 feet below sea level, there are giant creatures that humans have never known, such as the Megalodon shark and the giant octopus. A young man was attacked by a giant octopus, but fortunately, his giant shark appeared just in time to save him. The battle between the monsters and between humans and monsters was incredibly intense. Let's find out more. 65 million years ago, Earth was a massive battleground where the strong preyed on the weak. Every creature fought to survive, forming a tightly connected food chain. When people think of the ruler of the dinosaur era, they usually picture the T-Rex. But in reality, there was an even scarier creature, the giant sawtoothed shark, capable of swallowing a T-Rex effortlessly. To this day, this dangerous predator still lurks in the depths of the ocean. Off the coast of the Philippines, a man named Jonas was hiding inside a shipping container. On the ship, a group of people were secretly dumping industrial waste into the ocean. Jonas snuck into the storage area to secretly take photos of classified documents. Suddenly, a parrot in a cage squawked loudly, drawing the guard's attention.
Shut. Hi. They're checking on security protocols and... What's going on?
With nowhere left to go in the vast ocean behind him, he turned to face his enemies and calmly announced they were caught dumping waste illegally. Then, the guards didn't panic. They were more than 300 kilometers from shore. Even Olympic swimmers wouldn't survive. But Jonas had a plan. He checked his watch. The rescue team was arriving. Right on time, a helicopter flew in low, opened its doors, and safely picked him up along with the evidence. Meanwhile, at a marine research institute, a scientist named Jong was testing a powerful diving suit capable of punching through rock.
Performing way beyond what we expected. 21% increase in power.
That night was the institute's 15th anniversary, and Jong, the director, was giving a speech. The institute had just completed a high-tech submarine, ready for the deepest ocean dive in history. Jong decided to test it himself by diving alone to check on the giant sawtooth shark they'd been raising and studying.
Why are you swimming with the Meg, Jumeng? The Meg is not trainable, Jumeng.
It's okay. I've been training high G since he was a pup.
$50 says it's gonna end badly.
Come on guys, focus. It's not cool.
He and I have a special bond. One click to come. 2 clicks to go.
The shark swam around him peacefully. The crowd was amazed, but the moment didn't last.
You see it?
I think she's looking.
A second shark suddenly appeared and charged at him.
200 meters.
100 meters.
Coming in too fast.
50 meters. Hold the court. 20 meters. You make it out of there!
Thankfully, Jong escaped just in time.
That was exciting, huh?
Soon after, the official deep-sea mission began.
这4个字也送给你。
Jong, Jonas, and a young girl set out for the ocean's most advanced research center, preparing for the deepest dive ever attempted. Suddenly, the giant sawtoothed shark broke free, smashed through the barrier, and swam into the deep ocean. The expedition team didn't know, they were preparing for their dive. 2 submarines were ready, and everyone was in position. Once underwater, they quickly reached a depth of 5,180 meters and prepared to cross the thermal layer. Everything seemed smooth until Jonas spotted the young girl inside the control room. He was furious, having warned that this mission was too dangerous for a child. He ordered an immediate return to the surface. But it was too late, a sawtoothed shark was approaching.
That's not possible. They can't go through the thermocline.
They realized it was the same shark from the institute. The only way to survive was to dive deeper and break through the thermal layer. Both submarines accelerated, and just as the shark got close, they slipped past the boundary. The lights switched to low-frequency mode to avoid attracting more sharks. But the shark kept following. Luckily, the anti-shark system had fully charged. They activated it, but before they could relax, more sharks appeared, including one twice the size of the original.
It's the biggest Meg I've ever seen.
Sawtoothed sharks are solitary hunters, rarely seen in groups. Clearly, something strange was going on. Jong stayed calm. The sub still had oxygen, and all systems were functional. He proposed following the sharks to see where they were heading. The submarines continued deeper, closely following the sharks. The deeper they went, the more breathtaking the scenery became. The group momentarily forgot their fear, mesmerized by the beauty of the deep sea. The sharks began circling in a strange pattern, a mating dance. That explained why the Institute's shark had recently gone out of control. It was mating season. Then, their scanners picked up a strange structure on the seabed, a mysterious base hidden deep under the ocean, complete with air chambers, power plants, and complex equipment. Someone had clearly spent a fortune building this underwater facility. Just then, sonar detected another submarine approaching. Surprisingly, beneath the thermal layer, a group of people were illegally mining from a submarine. A bearded man was leading the operation, planting bombs along the edge of an underwater ridge. When he saw the explorers getting close, he immediately detonated the bombs. The blasts destroyed the entire mining area, killing his own team and triggering a massive underwater landslide, aimed at crushing the explorer subs. But he didn't expect his own ship to be caught under falling rocks. He tried to steer away but couldn't escape the avalanche. The landslide intensified, creating a massive water column that broke through the thermal layer. The explorers' subs were hit repeatedly by falling rocks, and one was completely buried, cutting off contact with the surface.
Hydraulics are non-responsive.
Coming in.
Go, go, go! To me!
The control center on land lost all signals and couldn't locate the team. All they could do was prepare a rescue mission. But when they checked, they found the rescue subs had been sabotaged by someone. The situation was now extremely dire. Underwater, the remaining sub had also lost contact with its team, and oxygen levels were dropping fast. They managed to reconnect the power system and tried reaching the surface again. After many attempts, they finally got the message. The rescue subs were destroyed and couldn't be launched. Immediately, with no other options, the group decided to put on emergency diving suits and leave the submarine to swim to the underwater base they had discovered earlier, hoping it would provide a way out. At this point, they were at a depth of 7,620 meters and had to swim 3 kilometers to reach the base. After swimming for a while, they unexpectedly encountered some teammates from the submarine that had been buried earlier. Fortunately, they were still alive and had the same idea of heading to the secret base for safety. Meanwhile, at the control center on land, a high-ranking official and a few colleagues were going through personnel files, determined to find the mole responsible for sabotaging the rescue submarine. Back at the deep ocean, the survivors continued their journey, swimming in a line through a magical world full of marine life. One young member fell behind, captivated by a small, color-changing octopus. But suddenly, the group painfully realized he had no chance of coming back. They had to stay strong and press on. At that moment, the bearded man from the submarine rose and contacted his superior. It turned out the mole was a high-ranking official from the research institute who had secretly betrayed the organization. The bearded man reported that he had caused a rockslide and eliminated the entire expedition team. But his superior immediately cut him off. "They're not dead. They're on their way to our base," he said. At that time, the expedition team was just 1 kilometer away from the base but had to cross a valley where no glowing sea creatures were around to conceal their presence. The group had to switch to low-frequency light to avoid being detected. With oxygen running low, tensions were high. Suddenly, a massive school of fish appeared and aggressively attacked them. Each person gave it their all to defend themselves, but as their oxygen ran out, they finally saw the base. Just then, the sonar system detected a giant object approaching. They had no time to waste and immediately sped up to escape.
Turn and fight!
Realizing the danger, Zhang activated a flare. But the bright light attracted something even worse. A giant sawtooth shark charged toward them. Zhang decided to sacrifice himself.
Everybody stay back!
One female member, badly injured and knowing she wouldn't survive, pushed the others ahead while she was immediately eaten by the shark. Seeing this horrific sight, Jonas rushed to pull Zhang away. The group sprinted toward the compression chamber, but before they could reach it, one member's mask shattered, and his head exploded right in front of his teammates. At that moment, the compression chamber door opened, and the remaining members finally escaped. They removed their diving suits and began exploring the base, but they found no one. They tried to use the communication system to contact the control center, while Zhang began going through the documents in the base. Suddenly, he discovered a large amount of rare minerals, even rare earth elements, with one small box worth billions of dollars. At that moment, one member managed to connect with the control center, where a female technician was checking the surveillance data from the underwater base. She discovered that to the north, there was an emergency escape hatch that could help them reach the surface. The team immediately headed north, but as they passed a room, Zhang unexpectedly saw a diving suit he had designed. This technology had never been made public, proving that there was a mole within the research institute. They quickly found the location of the escape hatch, but when they arrived, the door slammed shut. On the screen, the female technician appeared. It turned out she was also part of the mastermind's team.
Your life is in my hands. I have full control of the station and I've locked down this room.
I've been with you for years.
While making so much money, it ceases to have meaning.
3 of our friends are dead because of you.
I know it hurts.
God! Son of a bitch!
I guess you can save Mei Ying. Take that spear gun and shoot Jonas in the heart.
Go ahead. It's the only way Mei Ying survives. Do it. Do it!
At that moment, only one escape hatch remained, and if they lost it, they would all die at the bottom of the ocean. Not wanting to hear any more lies, Zhang smashed the screen, cutting off communication with the female technician. Immediately after, she opened the water valve, causing seawater to flood the base. The expedition team now had to find a way to stop the technician's remote control, but there was only one water valve switch, meaning someone had to swim outside, go to the control room, and disconnect it manually. Since no one had a diving suit, Jonas volunteered for the task. Another member warned that if water flooded into his nasal passages, he would have about 60 seconds before the pressure would crush his lungs. Jonas took a deep breath and dove into the chamber. The water immediately surged over him, and he felt the tremendous pressure. He tried to exhale slowly to balance the pressure in his body and then swam with all his might outside the base. Protected by the lead role, he made it to the control room before his body was crushed, but as soon as he entered, the bearded man was waiting. The two engaged in a fierce struggle in the cramped space. During the fight, they accidentally activated the mineral processing system, where giant gears could crush anything. The bearded man tried to push Jonas into the conveyor belt, but Jonas grabbed a piece of mineral and struck him in the head. Then, he used a shovel to avoid getting crushed by the gears, before counterattacking and knocking the man down. Without hesitation, he ran to the control panel, but before he could disconnect the system, the bearded man rose again to attack. The bearded man was relentless, continuing his fight with Jonas. Meanwhile, the rest of the expedition team was almost completely submerged in water, with just a small amount of air left to breathe. Finally, Jonas managed to break free, disconnected the control system, and saved the team just before the seawater drowned them. Luckily, the enemy's submarine was still outside the base. One team member quickly checked it and discovered that the hydraulic system was leaking, and the shark repellent system was broken. Without that system, they couldn't keep the sharks away from the submarine. Zhang made a bold decision: turn on all the lights in the base to attract the sharks to attack. The team waited for the right moment. When the lights in the base attracted the sharks' attention, they immediately ran outside. The light frenzy triggered the sawtoothed sharks, making them attack the base wildly, shaking the entire area. Zhang ran as fast as he could toward the submarine and jumped into the hatch just in time. The team quickly left the base. At this point, they realized the thermal layer had been breached. Zhang guessed that it would take at least an hour for it to recover, meaning creatures from the deep ocean would soon escape. And as predicted, an unwelcome guest was following the submarine. Meanwhile, the bearded man was still alive. He was using the escape hatch to leave the base, while the mastermind was also making his move. He sent a helicopter to the control center, cutting off all support for the expedition team. At the same time, a loyal colleague at the control center found the backup data, discovering that the female technician was the one who sabotaged the rescue submarine. When the truth came out, the control room door was knocked, and outside stood the female technician, accompanied by 3 armed mercenaries. 2 people in the control room were waiting with stun guns, and as soon as the door opened, they shot the intruders immediately. Although they couldn't capture the female technician, the control room had completely fallen into the mastermind's hands. The expedition team had reached the surface and immediately realized the situation was dire. They secretly approached the control center, splitting into groups. Jonas and Zhang went to find their captured teammates, while the others searched for inflatable boats to escape. Meanwhile, the bearded man successfully reached the control center and continued causing chaos. 2 colleagues in the control center took down a group of mercenaries. But as they entered, they were ambushed and captured. Zhang unexpectedly appeared, deliberately speaking in his native language to confuse the enemies. Just as planned, Jonas attacked to rescue his teammates. In another development, the team that was searching for the inflatable boat found it, but just then, a sawtoothed shark appeared. It easily shattered the protective glass and swallowed the female technician, ending the trader's life. The control center shook violently, and the team quickly climbed onto the inflatable boat, avoiding starting the engine to prevent attracting the shark. They climbed by hand, but before they could get far, a giant sawtooth shark was chasing them. Behind them, the mercenaries also boarded a motorboat to follow the expedition team. However, they didn't realize the engine sound had attracted the shark, and as a result, the mercenaries were devoured. While the expedition team escaped the dangerous area, they headed toward a tourist island, crowded with visitors. But, as if by cruel fate, as soon as they set foot on the island, they saw the sawtooth shark swimming toward the shore. Jonas shouted, "Everyone, run now!" The beach immediately turned into chaos. Tourists panicked and fled, but the shark relentlessly attacked, devouring everything in its path. The team scattered, with one person searching for a jet ski to fight, while the others tried to evacuate tourists before it was too late. Zhang and a team who didn't trust the plan decided to look for weapons in case things got worse. Meanwhile, the mastermind and his men reached the beach, but unexpectedly, they were attacked by a mysterious creature. All the guards were killed instantly, and the mastermind was pulled from the helicopter, ending his fate. It seemed that the breach of the thermal layer had allowed strange creatures to escape, infiltrating the shallow waters. Jonas hopped onto the jet ski and sped out to sea, drawing the shark's attention. Immediately, the beast charged after him, swimming at an incredible speed. In a life or death moment, the shark opened its massive mouth to attack, but Jonas lost his balance and fell into the water. He quickly climbed back onto the jet ski, but the engine wouldn't start. The shark was right in front of him, and just as it lunged, the engine finally roared to life. Meanwhile, Zhang and his team were searching for weapons but ran into the bearded man's soldiers. They were captured. At the same time, two other teams rushed in but were immediately subdued. Zhang noticed a switch on a pillar behind them. Thinking quickly, he struck the bearded man in the stomach, causing him to accidentally press the switch. The door opened, and a swarm of mutated creatures rushed out. Taking advantage of the chaos, the team made a run for it. As the soldiers panicked and shot at the creatures, they accidentally hit an oil barrel, causing a massive explosion that killed all the soldiers. Zhang led his team toward the helicopter, while out at sea. Jonas was facing the shark head-on. He pulled out a harpoon with explosives attached and threw it at the shark, causing it to turn and flee in pain. Not missing the opportunity, he sped up, riding the huge waves created by the shark. In an unbelievable action scene, he jumped into the air and plunged down, stabbing the harpoon into the shark's head, triggering the explosion and instantly killing it. The scene was so incredible that even the audience could hardly believe it. At the same time, Zhang found the helicopter, but a giant reptile was lying in wait nearby. He used a sound signal to distract it, clearing the way for his teammates to approach the helicopter. Meanwhile, the helicopter started, and Zhang fought the reptile with a shoe, using all his strength. Finally, he defeated the monster, but from a distance, another group of creatures was charging toward them. With no time to lose, he ran toward the helicopter. The group took off, but at that moment, a fuel hose was still attached to the aircraft. Just in time, they sped off to assist their teammates under the sea. On the beach, a giant octopus appeared, while the sawtooth shark continued its relentless attacks. Jonas was exhausted, but the enemies weren't stopping. The bearded man had returned to join the battle on the sea. Both were caught in a crazy chase across the ocean. While the octopus used its huge tentacles to attack tourists, Zhang spotted a young girl in danger. He lowered the helicopter to save her. Just as he pulled her up, the octopus wrapped its tentacles around the helicopter. Zhang grabbed some explosives, jumped out of the helicopter, while the pilot was pulled into the sea. At the same time, Jonas tried to jump onto the pier, avoiding the shark's attack, and hid under the deck. He peered through a crack in the wood and saw the bearded man approaching. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Jonas grabbed a wooden pole and stabbed him, causing blood to spread across the water. Immediately, the sawtooth shark was triggered and charged, devouring the bearded man instantly. On the other side, Zhang was pulled into the sea by the octopus, but the young girl threw a homemade bomb toward him. He stabbed the tentacle, freed himself, and stuffed the bomb into the octopus's body. A huge explosion followed, causing the giant sea creature to writhe in pain. In its panic, the octopus inadvertently squeezed its tentacles, trapping the sawtooth shark and dragging both into a deadly fight. Eventually, the two sea monsters killed each other, sinking to the ocean floor. Taking advantage of the situation, Zhang swam over to help his teammates trapped in the helicopter under the sea and tried to pull the pilot out. Meanwhile, Jonas saw another sawtooth shark approaching. He grabbed a piece of the wreckage and slammed it down on the water to attract it. Then, the most impossible thing happened. Jonas used his bare hands to block the shark, stabbing a metal pole into its upper jaw, killing it instantly. The monster's body sank into the ocean, ending the brutal battle. At this point, the group prepared to swim to shore, but another shark appeared. Zhang recognized it as the shark he had once tamed. He swam toward it, signaled with his hand, and surprisingly, the shark turned and swam away. He proudly told his teammates that he had a special bond with it. Jonas just shook his head and smiled, saying, "It's just chasing a school of dolphins." The group laughed and swam toward the shore, ending their intense and dramatic journey. The film officially ended. Goodbye and see you in the next video.